this morning with my mind stayed on Jesus. I woke up this morning with my mind.
Hello, hey everyone. Good morning to you. Joey Sparks here, and this is your reminder God's mercies are new again this morning. It's a pretty regular occurrence among nonprofits or other good works and organizations that one of their key fundraisers is to have a dinner or a breakfast or a lunch of some variety and have a great speaker, an intriguing speaker, and to allow people to buy tickets for that, to be able to hear the speaker, and they're able to sort it out such that it makes money. It covers the cost of the food, or the food is donated, and therefore all the ticket cost goes to the organization. And typically, it's pretty common at those events that you have tiers, right? You have tiers of people who pay more money or less money for those tickets. And so, for instance, our benefit dinner at Freed Hardeman, where we went to college, and this is the same for a lot of Christian colleges, we've only ever bought the entry-level tickets, lowest entry-level tickets, and we get to go eat in the cafeteria. Still good food, but it's in the cafeteria, and we get to sit in the balcony, toward the back of the balcony, but we're in, and we get to hear the speaker. I've gone as a guest of some people who pay more than that entry level, and guess what? We've gotten to eat in the nicer ballrooms. Man, we've had a picture opportunity with the guest speaker, right? That seems to make sense in our fundraising culture and being able to hear these well-known or inspiring speakers. Here's the thing. Those are not the model for the assembly of the saints, correct? We need to be careful that we never view worship and the worship assembly as having these tiers of importance, tiers of financial status, tiers of social status perhaps, tiers of race, tiers of political affiliation, or just who's in the know in the community. That's not the way the Lord intended the body to be, to live, to dwell, and to worship. So James uses the worship assembly as a way to illustrate that. And he says this in verse 4, if you've treated the poor man one way, the rich man one way, verse 4, have you not then made distinctions among yourselves and become judges with evil thoughts? Do you hear what he's saying? You've decided to separate yourselves when God has made you one. You've become a judge with evil thoughts. So what's the solution? It's found in verse 8. If you really fulfill the royal law according to the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. You are doing well. Do you hear what he's saying? If you really, that word should give us pause, because it's so easy for us to assume, and we do it for the first command just the same, but it's easy for us to assume we automatically love our neighbor. It's easy for us to assume of course we love our neighbor. James says, do you understand how challenging this is? That if you really love your neighbor according to Scripture, you're doing well, because it's difficult. You're probably in the minority if you really do. He says, verse 9, if you show partiality, though, you're committing sin and you're convicted by the law. And then he goes into this just classic and genius way of arguing, because he says, you go back to the law, and murder and adultery are just as bad. They're just as sinful. And so he says, guess what? When you break the law of partiality, you're breaking the law too. You're no different in the eyes of the law than you are if you murder or commit adultery or you steal. So verse 12, so speak and so act as those who are to be judged under the law of liberty. For judgment is without mercy to one who has shown no mercy. Mercy triumphs over judgment. You hear that? You keep showing mercy no matter the situation. You might want to put up those distinctions, but you better not, because you've been saved by mercy. You need to extend mercy. Not your job to set up these tiers, these levels of importance. No. You understand. You've all been made one. You've all been brought up to the highest of levels in God's eyes, His mercy. Therefore, you show mercy. You don't get to exercise judgment. So show the love you have for your neighbor in all things. We thank you so much for your time this morning. It's our prayer God's timeless word will be your meditation all day today.
I woke up this morning